This is how most of us were handed the word. Jesus was a carpenter. Case closed. He probably made a table, maybe a chair. Move on to the miracles. That's where the real stuff happens, right? I want to stop you right there, because that word, the one we casually translate, carpenter, is one of the cheapest, laziest translations in the entire New Testament. Not wrong, exactly, but small. Small in a way that has quietly shrunk something enormous for 2,000 years. And once you see what that word actually carried in the first century, you won't be able to read the Gospels the same way again. The word is Tektōn. It appears twice in the entire New Testament. Mark 6:3. The people of Nazareth ask, "Is not this the Tektōn?" Matthew 13:55. "Is not this the Tektōn's son?" That's it. 2 verses. That's the entire biblical record of what Jesus did with his hands for roughly 18 years of his life. More time than he spent in public ministry, by far. And here's what most translations don't tell you. In 1st century Galilee, Tektōn did not mean a man who made furniture. Galilean homes and village structures were built largely of stone. Wood was for beams, doors, yokes, plows, carts, tools, repairs. A Tektōn was the kind of man a village called when something needed to be built, fitted, shaped, or fixed. Wood, and very likely stone, and possibly metal, depending on the job. Not a hobbyist with a woodshop, a builder. So why did we get carpenter? Partly translation history, partly culture. Western Europe pictured its own village carpenters and projected that image backward onto a Galilean hillside 2,000 years earlier. And partly, if we're honest, it's more comfortable. A carpenter making chairs is safe, domestic, a little sentimental, even sweet. Jesus made little tables, fits nicely on a Christmas card. But a builder-craftsman, a man who worked stone and wood and weight and structure with his own hands for most of his life before he ever preached a sermon, that's a different picture entirely. That man understood pressure, load, fracture points, what holds and what collapses, what it costs to make something stand. We didn't shrink the word by accident. We shrank it because the fuller meaning asks something bigger of us. Here's what I want you to sit with. If Jesus was a builder before he was a preacher, if he spent nearly 2 decades of his life shaping raw material into structure before he ever opened his mouth in a synagogue to teach, then building was not incidental to who he was. It was formation. And once you start asking that question, you start noticing something you probably skimmed past 100 times. Genesis doesn't just say, God spoke the world into existence and left it floating there as an idea. He formed, he separated, he gathered, he planted, he filled, he named. Those aren't the verbs of a poet. Those are the verbs of a builder. And Hebrews 11:10 says something almost nobody preaches on, that Abraham was looking for a city whose architect and builder is God. Architect, builder, not just creator in some abstract sense we sing about, a craftsman. So here is the thread we are about to pull on. If God is the first builder, not just the first speaker, but the first builder, then everything else starts to realign. Adam in the garden was never just a gardener watering flowers in a nice enclosure. Bezalel, filled with the Spirit of God in Exodus 31, wasn't given that spirit to sing. He was given it to build the tabernacle with his hands. Wisdom herself in Proverbs 8 stands beside God at creation, present at the ordering of the world.
And then the Word becomes flesh. And the very first thing we're told about his trade, before we're told anything about his sermons, is that he was a Tektōn. The builder entered his own building site. We are not going to rush this. Over the next several episodes, we're going to walk through the whole architecture of this mystery. Adam, the delegated builder; Bezalel, the spirit-filled craftsman; Wisdom, the divine architect; Christ, the cornerstone; the church as living stones; worship as avoda, the offering of a working life, not just a song. But it all starts here with one correction. Tektōn is not a cheap word. It was never meant to be small. And if we've been calling Jesus a carpenter and picturing a man who made pretty furniture, we have been standing in front of something enormous and calling it ordinary. The word is bigger than we were told, and so is what he came to build.